All right, we're going to go ahead and get started. If some people come in a little bit late, then they'll be free to come on in and join us. My name is Andrew Welter, and I am your club retention chair for this year. What does club retention chair mean? Essentially, I'm going to be helping all of our clubs in the district with the club coach program. So this is all about club coaching. What's it all about? Why would you want a club coach? Why would you want to become a club coach? We're going to talk about all that in details. With that, and now it's not wanting to work. Of course. Came in and tested it and it worked fine. Look at that. So what are we going to talk about today? We're going to talk about the requirements. If you are a club looking to have a club coach, what all specifications do you have to meet? If you want to be a club coach, what all do you have to do? What all do you have to have in order to be a club coach? We're going to go through what a club coach is. What do they do? What are they there for? How are they going to help your club? If you're getting a club coach, if you're a club coach going to a club, what are you going to be doing whenever you get there? We're going to talk about preparing for a coach. What does the club need to do for the coach to come? What does the coach need to do to get ready to go to the club? Again, all this we're going to talk about both sides, the club and the coach, because they both work together. So we're not going to just talk about one side of the equation, we're going to talk about both sides through the whole process. We're going to talk about the path. How do you get a club coach? What all happens to make that happen? We're going to talk about measured success. I'm a numbers guy, so I like having numbers that I can equate to things. So we're going to talk about how to measure it, and then we're going to end with a couple resources that you can go to after this. So why would a club want a coach? Why would you want a coach? Now, a lot of people hear club coach, and that signifies they think, well, my club's failing, or my club's we're so bad, we need somebody else to help us out. That's the kind of mentality some people will get into. That's not what this is all about. This is about your club needs some outside perspective. They need somebody to kind of come in from the outside and figure out what's working, what's not, kind of give some new ideas, some new thoughts, and give that motivation to your members to get back going. Now, there are some requirements a club must meet in order to be eligible for a coach. The first is they have to have at least 3 members, but no more than 12. So you can see from this, they're in a membership place where they need some more members. So that's kind of the key thing with a club coach. They're needing a few more members.
Can we ask questions, or?
Yeah, go ahead.
Don't brand new clubs need coaches?
They get mentors. So you might hear the term club mentor versus club coach. Those are 2 separate things. Club mentors are going to be for new clubs, and those are ones that help get them on their path. They will work with the club sponsors. Club coaches are for established clubs only. Good question, though. Club cannot be currently suspended. So if a club's suspended, that's 2 ways you can be suspended. Your membership gets too low, if you get under that 3 mark, or if you've had 2 consecutive periods where you've had less than 8 members renew. That is a club that's in suspension. When you're suspended, you cannot get a coach. You have to get out of that suspension first. And that's something, if you have questions about that, I'll be glad to talk with you afterwards. I don't want to get too much in the weeds with that. The last is you cannot have 2 club coaches currently appointed. Every club's allowed up to 2 coaches. You don't have to have 2, you can have 1. But if you have 1, you can still have another one. But if you have 2, you're at your max. And that's just to make sure that you don't have 5 coaches for 7 members and it feels like it's a battle between the 2. The coaches are just there to assist the club. Yes?
Okay. You said you can have 2 coaches.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Cannot have 2 club coaches currently appointed? So is they're saying in their status right now, if they got one, it's fine to look for more. But what if they have to, can someone step down or relinquish that role, or how do they do that?
Yes, they would. Now, there is a process to go through in order to have a club coach removed. And then, so we would have to first remove a club coach, and then we could appoint a different coach. But we would have to first remove that one, and that would have to be a mutual decision. So once a club coach is appointed, that it's not just the district, it's also international. So we have to go through a process to remove them.
I just wanted to clarify, you said that a club can have 2 coaches,
Yes.
and it says cannot have 2 club coaches currently appointed.
So this is
statements?
if you're looking for a coach. So these are the requirements to be eligible for a
okay,
coach.
okay,
So if you have 2 coaches, you can't get a third.
okay.
Yeah. No, good clarification there, yeah. So these are the requirements to be eligible for a coach. If you have 2, you can't have a third. Now, what are some other reasons? So that's the requirement. So those are things those are the check marks. Those are the boxes we have to check in order to be eligible for a coach. But why else would a club want a coach? Well, they want to improve the club and the club experience. As Toastmasters, we all strive to be better. We strive to get to that next level. We want to raise that ceiling of what we can reach, because the higher that ceiling is, the more room we have for growth. We always are striving for that. This allows us to have somebody not a part of our club who's maybe not as devoted to a member of the club overall, to come in, look at things, and to give advice on how we can get to that next level without having to necessarily worry about stepping on people's toes. They're an outside perspective on things. The person coming in as a coach, the district will be vetting those. So they're not just somebody we're just placing with you. This is going to be somebody who we think will help your club specifically. It's not just, oh, we're going to put this Toastmaster with you. No, we've talked to you. This is where we think your club might use some guidance to become better. This person's pretty good at that. So we're going to match them up with your club, because we think that they'll help your club get to that next level. Now, another thing to keep in mind is if your club is under 8 members, if you have a club member that wants to compete in contests, they can't. If your club is under 8 members, they are automatically disqualified. And I've seen it happen all the way up at the district contest. So that's something you don't want to happen. If a member wants to compete, you don't want the club to be the one that holds them back. And to vote. If you want to vote for people like Patty as your club growth director, your club has to be in good standing in order to have a voting club in district council meetings. You have to have at least 8 members in order to be eligible to vote. So those are some things to keep in mind, that you want to have that 8 members, and they're going to help you get to that point. Now let's talk about the club. Now, why would a member want to be a coach? Why would they want to? Because you're essentially donating your time to another club. Why would you want to give that much? Why would you want to do that for your club? Well, you want to work on your leadership skills, because you're going to be coming in and you're going to be somebody the club's going to be looking to for help and guidance. So you're going to be there in the foreground, helping lead them to that next level. You want to become a DTM, and I'm going to be honest with you. The only reason that you want to become a club coach is to become a DTM. I'm okay with that. If that is your only motivation, that's not going to bother me. And you're going to see later why that won't bother me. But if your only motivation is to become a DTM, that's perfectly fine, because you're still going to be motivated to get your credit of club coach. And it's not you just serve and you get credit. As you can see, the club has to become distinguished for you to get that club coach credit. So you can't just walk in, have it for a year, and you get the check mark for it. You're gonna have to help that club get there. Here's a bonus though. If while you are a club coach, you take a club and they get up to 20 members or more while you're a club coach, you get a bonus credit of district officer. So if you've never been a district officer, if you're a club coach and you get a club to 20 members, you're gonna get 2 points towards your DTM, not just 1. There's 6 things you have to do to get to your DTM. You coach a club, you get them distinguished, you get them to 20 members during your term, you're a third of your way to your DTM, just like that. You want to support others. I'm a guy who likes to give. I like to help other people. Club coaching allows me to help others. I want to help others be better, get to that next level. Because whenever I see people get there, I like that. It's cool whenever you've had that moment where people break through to that next level, when you've helped them get there, it's kind of like a, oh wow, sort of moment. You want to have that. Those who can remember back, well, it was about 5 years ago, the wow factor. That's a wow factor right there. And you want to sharpen your own Toastmaster skills. Whenever you are put to the test like this, you're going to have to bring your skills up to another level in order to help others get to that level. It's going to allow you to be a better Toastmaster overall, whether it's communicating, being a leader, or just knowing what's available from Toastmasters. So what's the eligibility? How can you become a club coach? The first thing is you have to complete one of 3 things. You have to either complete level 2.5, complete your advanced leader bronze in the legacy system, or the advanced communicator bronze in the legacy system. Now notice, this is a minimum. This doesn't mean you've been a member for, let's say, 8 months, you finished your level 2, you want to become a club coach. We might not put you right away because you might not have the requisite knowledge to help another club out. You might not know enough about Toastmasters. That might be a situation we match you up with another coach and the 2 of you work as a team, or it could be we're going to work for a couple extra months, make sure that you have the skills. I have no problems putting in the time, helping somebody get to that level, and then putting them in as a coach. So we're not going to put somebody that just meets the minimum in there with a club because they're going to be coming in as, the club's going to see them as an expert. We want them to have that ability to be that. You can't currently coach any other club. 1 club at a time per coach. So a club can have up to 2 coaches, but if you're a coach, 1 club max. And the reason why is because we want you to be focused on coaching that club and only that club. We don't want you focusing on, okay, I gave that advice to this club and I gave that advice to this club and trying to keep it all straightened out. We want you to be focused on helping that club reach that next level. You can't coach the club that you're a member of. Even if you're a dual member, any club that you're a member of, you cannot coach that club. So if you're a member of a club, you cannot be their coach. Also, you cannot have been a member of that club in the last 6 months. So if you were a member of that club a year ago and now they're needing a coach, then you can go and be their coach. But if you were a member 3 months ago and they're needing a coach and they're wanting a coach and they want you, then you're not eligible. And again, these are Toastmasters rules. These are not District 8 rules. There's also a change to this, and I do point this out later because some people might be wondering, you also cannot join a club if you're their coach. That is a new rule that was put in place last year. If you're coaching a club, you are not a member of the club. If you were coaching prior to that rule going in place, you were grandfathered in. Any new club coaches, they cannot become members. They want the coach to be separate from the club. Now, after they're done being a coach and they want to join the club afterwards, that's perfectly fine. They want to dual member and they want to join your club because they're like, hey, I like this group. I like what you guys are doing. I really like being a part of it. I want to be part of it as a member. That's perfectly fine. But while you're a coach, they want that to be separate. The last thing, and this is also a new rule that came in last year, is there's a club coach module in Pathways. You have to complete that before you can be assigned as a club coach. Takes about maybe an hour to do. It's fairly straightforward. A lot of the stuff that we're talking about today is in that, you're going to see that in that module. It's just going through all the details, what all coaches have to do, what all coaches should do, what all coaches shouldn't do, things like that. And it's just making sure that you're prepared for that step. So that's necessary before you become a club coach. So now what does the club coach do? So they're outside the club, as we talked about. They're not going to be a member of the club, so they're outside the club they're coaching. They're not a part of it. It does require a time commitment. In order to get credit as a club coach, you must serve a minimum of 6 months. Minimum of 6 months, no exceptions. For example, if you're a coach for 4 months and the club's got all 10 goals and they've got up to 20 members and they've got all 10 distinguished goals and everybody's just going great, still have to wait those extra 2 months before you get the credit. So you still have to wait that 6 months. Now, it does cap at 2 program years. So after 2 years, your coaching with that club will end. This doesn't mean you can't ever be a coach again. If you want to move to a different club and still coach, you can still do that, but you can't be a coach for that club anymore. And the reason for that, after 2 years, if the club's still not there, might need a little bit different insight. So maybe just something wasn't quite getting the difference. So they just want to make sure that the same, the club and the coach aren't just spinning their wheels for years and years. They want to make sure it's staying fresh. Their goal is to assist the club to make them distinguished. They're going to be the assistant. They're not the ones who are doing the work. Again, they're not going to be a member, so they're not going to be getting any Pathways levels. They're not going to be getting credit for that. They're not going to be the ones that are going to be doing the work necessarily. They're going to be the ones helping give information, showing tools, showing how to use those various tools, and helping the club get there. Because when it's all said and done, that coach will eventually leave. The members should have the ability to grow back on their own. The goal is not, you have a coach, they get him to distinguished, the coach then leaves, and 18 months later, that club needs a coach again. They want that club to be able to thrive on their own. So they're going to lead discussions. They're going to talk about, okay, where's the club at? Where do we need to work on? Where's our strengths? Where's our weaknesses? What do we need to put our focus in to get us to distinguished? And some of these discussions will happen before the coach comes in.
All right, so let me ask you something. So if I coach a club for an entire year, they don't get distinguished, I get nothing.
You will not get credit for being a club coach.
If I go to the club and I give them a speech about anything, I can't use that in the Pathways? I can't get credit?
You can get credit for it, but the club can't get credit for it. But we're going to discuss a little bit more on that a little bit later. Okay? So you're going to be working with the club. And really to think about, the coach is going to be kind of the guy on the sidelines. Think of whenever you have sports, you have basketball, football, think about the coach. They're going to be the ones in the huddle. They're going to be helping draw up the plays, figuring out what people's strengths are to use them to the best of their abilities. But when it's game time, you don't see the coach out on the basketball court. Coach isn't out there playing the game. They're on the sideline, just observing, seeing if we need to make changes. That's the way I kind of think of the club coach, in a way. It's not an exact duplication, but it's similar. They're on the sidelines. They're not out playing the game. Because at the end of the day, it's the clubs, the members of that club, it's their club. It's not the coach's club. It's the members' club. So they're going to work with the club to identify action plans. Find out where they need to focus on targets based on where the club is and where they want to go. And again, that's going to go back to identifying the state of the club. So you're going to figure out where everything's at, and then you're going to use that to build an action plan. With it, you're going to attend meetings. Because the more meetings you attend, you'll be able to see what the club's actually doing. And from that, you'll be able to provide better feedback. This includes executive meetings. Again, with that, you're just going to be kind of sitting in the back and just observing things. Because think about it. When you're evaluating a speech, you're not the one giving the speech. You're putting together your evaluation while the speaker's speaking. Same kind of idea with it. So, we have a coach, we have a club. We want to get them paired together. What's all the steps to it? First thing is, the club has to vote in favor of accepting the coach. And note, it's the club, not the executive committee, not the president, it's the club. So that needs to be done at a club meeting, or in a situation where it's all the members of the club. I understand if you have a smaller club of members that might be interested in coaching, have 6, 7 members, all the members might be members of the executive committee. That might happen. But the club has to vote in favor of it. Next step is at least one officer must complete the club coaching module and pathways. Just like the coach has to complete it, at least one officer has to complete it. Now that's the international check mark, because they'll go and check that. If it were me, I would suggest every single member of the club, not just the officers, everybody in the club take that club coaching module. Because that coach is working with everybody in the club. Not just the president, not just the VPE, not just the executive committee, they're working with the whole club. The more the club knows what that coach is going to be doing, the better they're going to be able to help them. That's all happened. So then the club reaches out to district leadership. Hey, Andrew, hey, I'm Club X, and we want a club coach. And I'm going to say, great. Let's have a quick meeting. Let's figure out what you're looking for in a coach. Because at the same time that's happening, now, notice it says vice versa. If you're a club that has, that you meet that membership requirements, you might see an email from Patty reaching out saying, you meet the requirements for a club coach. Would you be interested? Doesn't mean you have to take it, but we're saying you might want one. If you want more information, let me know. While that's going on, in the background, I'm going to be looking for club coaches. And I'm going to be trying to find people who are interested in being a club coach. Now, why are they going, with that? I'm going to be making sure they're doing it for the right reasons, make sure they meet the requirements. And we'll be seeing what are their strengths, what are their weaknesses, what can they bring to a club, what skills are their wheelhouse. Because remember, different clubs might need different things from a club coach. We want to make sure we're finding a coach that matches the weaknesses so they can turn those weaknesses into strengths. Because if you have certain strengths and we match a coach that has those same strengths, you might not get nearly as much. We want to match coaches that help what those clubs are looking for in a coach. District leadership will be working on both sides of that equation. And with that, you're going to say, well, we have this club, we think this coach or this coach and this coach, we think you'd be good fits. So you're the names that we're going to look at right now. Once that happens, the club and the prospective coaches are going to meet and discuss. Because at the end of the day, if they're not going to be able to work well together, doesn't help for us to put them together. We're going to have them meet. And they're going to discuss and see whether they think it'll be a good fit. And if either side thinks, no, I don't think this is going to work out, they can just say, I don't think this is going to work out. And we'll say, okay. If it's coach, we'll be like, okay, we'll find another coach to put in there. If it's the club, we'll say, okay, let's try a different coach then. Let's try this coach. Once we have a match, once we have a coach and a club, and they're saying, yep, we think this will work, this is going to be a good fit, they're both going to sign an agreement for it. This is basically saying the club saying, yes, we want this person to be our coach. The coach is saying, yes, I will gladly coach this club. And they'll sign that agreement. You have to sign it for each coach. So if you have two coaches, there'll be two agreements forms, one for one coach, one for another. Once that's done, it will be sent up to district leadership. Because district director, Rhonda, you met her, she has to sign off on it. So she has to say, yep, this is good, I'm going to make this happen. Once that's all done, then we have to send it off to international, the world headquarters. And they're going to check the club and the coach, and they're going to make sure all those requirements that I brought up earlier, they're going to be just the ones that are checking the boxes. We're going to be doing vetting at the district level. International, they're just going to be checking the boxes. If all of those boxes check off and they're all good, then they'll appoint the coach, and that'll be an official merger of the club and the coach. They'll be put together. So then it comes to, now we have a coach in place. What are going to be things the coach is going to do? What are things the coach is not going to do? They're going to help provide resources to the club, and help them work through them. Things like the club success plan, moments of truth, things like that. Those things that you hear all the time, and you might be like, I keep hearing about that, but I don't know where it's at, what I do with it, what it means. That's going to be the club coach. They're going to be coming in and helping to do all that. And if you don't qualify for a club coach and you still want more information on that, come see district leadership. Glad to help you. You can always talk to your area director, your division director, anybody in the trio. Come talk to me. Anybody you can reach out to. Things they're not going to do. They're not going to tell you this is what you have to do. They are not going to say, well, you're struggling to have people sign up for roles. You have to do assigned roles. They're not going to do that. That's not a good coach. A coach is not going to tell the club what they have to do. Again, why is that? Because the members own the club, not the coach. The coach is not a member of the club. It's not their club. They're just there to assist the club. It's not their club. They can suggest, have you thought about doing assigned roles? Have you thought of just assigning your speakers and not assigning all the other roles? Things like that. They can give that advice. They can say, this is the process you'd work through, but they shouldn't be telling you what you have to do. They're going to give advice on how the club can improve. So they're going to be looking for, remember I was talking about that feedback. So they're going to be sitting and looking at what they see is working, what's not. So they're going to be bringing up the positives and then rooms for improvement. This is where we can improve. These are areas we might want to look at. And these are some resources we have available to help us, to help you as that club get to that level. They're not gonna be taking roles away from members. Now, you might have a club that has a smaller membership, especially whenever the club coach comes in. The club might only have 6 members, they might be struggling to fill all the roles. There are some roles it's good for a coach to take. There are some you prefer them not to take. Roles that are good for a club coach to take. Timer, account grammarian, general evaluator. Roles that the coach should avoid. Toastmaster, speaker, speech evaluator. Those are the roles that you want the club to be doing because that's the essence of the meeting. And if the coach is taking away those essence, your club's not getting that. The others are more supplemental roles. They're helping just to keep the club meeting going. And that general evaluator, why did I put that one in there? Again, feedback. It's a time where they can give that feedback within the club meeting, and it's a positive time to do that. Now,
So I got a question for you.
no, go ahead.
All right, so you're discouraging giving speeches, right? I've gone to clubs where there were no speeches planned for the evening, which I always find troublesome.
Yes,
If nobody's giving a speech, it's pretty bad.
I agree.
So I kind of have a backup speech when I did that. I'll make up something. Just to hopefully inspire them or encourage them to start doing it.
If it's a one-off, probably not a bad idea. So if it's a one-time thing,
I would suggest if you're a club coach, you have a couple of those pocket speeches ready that talk about the successful club series. So you're gonna be giving an educational speech then on how to give a good evaluation, how to give a good speech, the elements of a good speech, a presentation, where you talk about the introduction, the body, and the conclusion. And so in those roles, again, if there's not enough speakers, yes, to take that successful club series, give some of those speeches, have them ready, talk about the importance of having an introduction, that you write an introduction for, the Toastmaster. Those are things that, have those ready. And those are the kind of things, that would help the club, not necessarily, and yes, those can count as a speech you give in one of your pathway levels. But I wouldn't just give a speech that didn't have anything to do with helping that club improve how to gain membership, those kind of things. Does that make sense then?
I like your point. I take the opposite view.
Okay.
I try to eliminate all Toastmaster discussion when I'm giving a speech. I try to just entertain, hopefully that they'll find value, and the reason that they're coming to Toastmasters is to be better speakers, without saying it. That if I can do a really good job delivering the speech, you're gonna get it. And I don't have to bang you over the head and say Toastmasters, 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 which drives me personally nuts. Just entertain me, and hopefully I'll wanna be like that.
can I give a counterpoint to that though?
Yes, you're sure.
Because then if you're giving those speeches, 2 parts. One, the club's not gonna be getting any credit for that. But the second part is, they might be saying, oh, if we don't have a speaker ready, we have a crutch that we can go on and we can get the same type of speech. You don't, again, remember, the coach is not a member of the club. They are not part of the club. They are there to just assist the club. They're there to work with the club to get them to distinguish. The coach's whole goal should be essentially, I know this is going to sound crazy, it's to remove themselves from the club. Now, if you become a member afterwards because you love the people, you love that club, that's a whole different story. But the whole idea is the coach should be coming in to get out. Because the quicker they get out, the quicker that means that club became distinguished. And that club's able to grow and thrive on their own. And I understand your viewpoint, and I think there's some good there's some good points to that, but the goal is you want the club to thrive on their own. You don't want the coach to be that backup for them, because the coach is not really a member of that club. Yes.
I kind of think that what you're saying is it has to do with empowerment versus disempowerment. The coach is there to empower the club to grow and do it on their
Exactly.
own. And I'm a counselor and parenting coach, and so I have to teach parents these things, like, to the degree that I do something for the club, they feel disempowered, and
Yes.
they don't have the natural consequences of having no speakers. If they sit back and go, well, the coach will stand up and give a speech, and yes, while it's powerful to stand up and role model, and I think that's what you're saying, you're role modeling, giving a great
Right.
speech, that if you step into the gap, you're taking away that natural consequence that they're gonna feel the pain of
Mhm.
and want to solve the problem. Instead, the goal is to empower the club to solve these problems themselves.
Exactly. And because the clubs should be solving
Right.
what's coming up for the club. The coach is there helping give resources, helping how to use the resources, but it's just like I said, whenever the game's going on,
Yeah.
the coach, whenever you watch a basketball game, the coach is not there at center. They're not shooting the ball. They're standing on the sideline.
So I agree 90%, but let me give you one example. So I was an area director years ago. I went to this club that had 6 members, so they were gonna go out. And they didn't have any speakers, and they didn't care. They didn't have a speaker before the previous meeting, or they weren't expecting one for the next meeting. So I said, so what do you guys actually do here? What's your, well, first of all, they had no interest in being distinguished. I was shocked, like I was there to motivate them, move them along, and they didn't say, just leave us alone. We're perfectly happy the way we are. Now, they were all state workers. There was a state workers club, and 3 or 4 of them had already retired, but they were good friends with each other. So this was an excuse to get together for lunch once a week and just share stories of what's been going on. And the more I thought about it, Toastmasters brought them together in this friendship group, and Toastmasters kept them together. And as they said, they were perfectly happy. Don't tell us what to do. We've been like this for a long time. And I was kind of taken aback. I wanted to use all these Toastmaster things. I'm like,
So with that, I do want to bring up, because there's a little bit of a difference between being an area director and being a club coach.
right.
Because an area director, you're going into the clubs and you're assessing the clubs whether they want you there or not. Patty's been an area director too. She's laughing, and the reason why is because we were both Area 5 directors. I followed her, and there are sometimes you'll have clubs that are like, just leave us alone. You're not going to have this situation when you're a club coach. Club coach, the club wants you there.
Yes.
That's the big difference with this, is the coach is only going to be there because we can't force a club to take a coach. The club, again, go back to what was step 1, the club votes to approve having a coach. So they're saying, we want a coach. And so hearing the area director now, I see a little bit of the difference, because the coach is going to be there because the club's asking for help. Area directors, for those who don't know, I'm sure everybody here should know what an area director is.
No. No, we have a new member, a new club member starting, so we can't do that.
So area directors is a member of the district, and their job is to come into clubs in the areas 4 to 6 clubs geographically located, and they're coming to just give an assessment of the club. So they're going to say, okay, these are the things that we see that's working well. These are some areas for improvements. This is kind of an outsider's view of the club. That's what the area director does. And there's a resource. So if the club has some questions, some concerns, they want a club coach, that they should be going to their area director. So I'll hand up over here.
Well, I've been both an area director and a club coach.
Mhm.
My clubs always wanted me there as an area director. I think that clubs generally do want both. They want the area director to help them, and they also want a club coach. They're two different roles. The clubs that I was the area director for, one of the clubs was really struggling. And so I became the club coach after the area director position. And it was just a really good transition. They already knew me.
Absolutely.
I really wanted to help them because I really liked the members. Now back then, I was a member
Yes.
of the club because they've changed the rules.
They have, yes.
I would consider this more of a rule-based discussion than a what works best discussion, because from my perspective, it worked great. But there must be some reason that Toastmasters changed the paradigm, which is fine.
Yep.
But I was able to take that club to distinguish. And
That's what we want to hear.
they wanted, me to just stay with them because we
Absolutely.
just had a
Yep.
great relationship. It was a wonderful experience, and if you're considering it, I highly recommend it. It was just a really great way. Now, I did deliver some speeches to them, and it opened their mind, because you get in a rut in Toastmasters sometimes. So, but a second idea could be, one of the coaches' suggestions could be, well, we can do a club interchange. Toastmasters used to do this a lot, where your members would go to a different club, and then that club would go to your club. And so these types of ideas, maybe, you do deliver a speech once in a while, and I don't see a problem with it, but whatever, if that's not recommended, that's fine. But yeah, typically, but they did the work. They were the ones doing it at the end of the day. And it's a great, it's a great experience.
Couple things to piggyback off that. Patty's worked on this quite a bit, and she's had clubs meeting together. So you have two clubs that are struggling to get enough members to have a full roster. They meet together. So this one has 5 people showing up. This one has 5 people showing up. They meet together. Now you have 10 people showing up, and it invigorates both clubs then, and you're able to have full and productive meetings. So that's one thing to work on. And another thing that you point out that I think is so important is that you do have the area director and the club coach. And they're 2 separate roles. And the area director's there to help. Do not get me wrong. The area director's there to help your clubs. But they can't give your club necessarily the level of help. I don't want to use the word help. The level of support, better word, support. The level of support that a club coach can. Because an area director has a minimum of 4 clubs. If all 4 of those clubs want that level of help, or support, again, if they want that level of support, that area director is going to burn out 6 months in. We don't want that. We're all Toastmasters, we're all working together. And that's using the different tools that Toastmasters has available.
And it's a time thing too, because when you're an area director, so you visit all of your clubs once, so by the time that half of a year was over, that was taking all of my time slots. And then again in the spring, well, when I was a club coach, I was attending every single meeting, every exec meeting. And so it would be difficult to try to do both at the same time.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
Absolutely. And area directors, they're meeting at district executive council meetings, and they're going to be doing their area contest. They just don't have the time to really pour into one club. That's what the club coaches are here for. So if you're an area director or thinking about becoming an area director in the future, remember that this tool will be available. A few other things. So they're going to be submitting reports and giving feedback. Now with that, it's just going to be giving everybody kind of a synopsis. What have I seen that I think is going well? Maybe what are the next things we need to be looking at? What's our next steps down the line? So this is what we've been working on. We've been doing a good job with that. Maybe this is where we need to focus on next. Maybe the first focus is on club meetings, making sure that we're having productive, good, strong meetings every meeting. Okay, we got the meetings in check. You know, which do we do next? Do we focus on pathways? Do we focus on membership? Giving that roadmap to the clubs of what they see. Again, they're just going to be giving that feedback. It's up for the clubs to decide what they do with it. Just like when you give into a speech, you'll have an evaluator give feedback. What you do with that feedback is on the speaker, not on the evaluator. The evaluator is not going to come back the next time you gave a speech. How come you didn't put my feedback into your next speech? You did the same thing I said that you needed to improve on. Same thing, same idea behind that. So you're not going to become members while coaching. The reason for this is they want the club and the coach. They don't want the coach. The way I understood it, if the coach becomes a member, then they have almost a power structure within the club, and they're a member. And that's kind of the reason why they wanted to keep that separate. They wanted the coach to be an outsider. They wanted them to not be a member of the club. Because when you're a member, then you're a member too, and so whenever it comes to playing on the field, they're going to expect you to go out on the court too. Well, if you're out on the court, it's hard for you to see what's going on everywhere else and maybe know some things. It's not to say it can't be done, but I think that was kind of the spirit behind that, is that they just wanted that coach to be that outside person. They're going to assist in helping the clubs learn to use the tools available. Again, going back to that moments of truth. How many people have heard of the moments of truth? How many have ever run a moments of truth? How many people know what to do with the results from a moments of truth? and that's important, is that we have these tools, and you might know they're there, but if you don't know what to do with them, they're not very useful. And the great thing is, the club coaches, they might not know either. That's why they're going to come to me. And they're going to say, hey, they're talking about moments of truth. I don't know what that is. What do we do with that? Not a problem. I'll show you. The whole idea is to make sure that the coach, you don't have to know everything about Toastmasters to be a club coach. We'll be glad to show you along the way. You don't have to know it. But you have to be that person in the room that's confident. Says, we're going to make that happen. They're not going to run the program. So if the club does an open house or a speech craft, they're not going to be the people who are going to be running it. They're not going to be ones organizing it. They're going to be the ones that are going to be saying, we need this, and this for an open house. This is what you need to do for an open house. And they might be the ones that are checking off, saying, okay, this person's doing it, keeping track, maybe being the secretary for a group, for a project like that. And just making sure that the members who are going to be doing it, they know what's required for the different steps of that.
And you mentioned two things, the moment of truth and speechcraft. You have new people in the room.
So I just put part of it because I didn't want to bog down, but yes, absolutely, yeah. So speechcraft, so you probably heard speechcraft. Speechcraft is an 8-week session. The way to think about it is it's Toastmasters for people who aren't members yet. They're prospective members. And it's just an 8-week session to get them to become better speakers and to show them Toastmasters. If you need more information on speechcraft, get with me afterwards and I'll get you that information.
Moment of truth.
So moments of truth, yes, moments of truth is basically an assessment of the club by the members. The whole idea is for members to be as honest as possible in filling it out. And all it does is it shows the club, these are the areas where our members think we could improve the most, where we're struggling. It's takes about 5 minutes to fill out. If your club's looking at doing it, you can do it at the end of a club meeting. Maybe as a table topics, you can plug it in there instead and have people fill out moments of truth. It's up to the club for to decide. Again, if you want more information on that, see me afterwards. So here are the milestones that have to be done. Coach will fill out the preliminary report within the first 30 days and have to submit. All that is basically who are the members of the club, what towards distinguished has the club done to this point in the year, and just initial impressions. Very simple, very basic. All the reports you see are they're meant to be quick captures of the club. They're going to fill out a progress report every 60 days. And that's what I was telling you about, where they're going to be giving essentially that feedback. They're going to say, this is what they've been working on. This is the progress I've seen. Maybe this is the next area we need to focus on. And this is what they've accomplished. We've added 4 more new members. We can check that box off. Things like that. We've got 4 officers trained. We're halfway to that goal. Things like that. Again, they have to serve at least 6 months. You're serving a minimum of 6 months if you're a coach. And if you're a club, the coach is going to be there at least 6 months. Yes?
So, on the application, I saw there were 2 slots for coaches. Do you have, can you have only 1 coach, or do you have a coach and a backup, or do you need 2 coaches?
You can have up to 2 coaches.
Okay.
You don't have to have 2. You can have just 1. But you can have, a club can have up to 2 coaches, but it maxes out at 2.
Thanks.
No problem. The coach must be renewed after a program year if continuing service. I think it's a little bit new. So if you want to continue, we have to keep that going. Again, maximum of 2 years. And then once they're done, they have to fill out a final report. And this might be, okay, I'm done coaching. These are maybe some things that you might still want to work on.
Does that suggest that any club gets up to 2 years of coaching and then they should be able to apply?
Well, it kind of. So it's the whole.
She's with a new club.
Okay.
They just turn in an application fee, so that's some of the things that she's working through.
Okay. With that, it's within 2 years. If that's a good matchup, then you should be there. And after 2 years, it's not necessarily that club doesn't still need a coach, but maybe they need a different coach. And that's not to say anything bad about the club or the coach. It just might not have been the best fit. Measured success. All those things have to do with distinguished. What's it mean to be distinguished? They have changed the rules. It's still in effect this year. You have to have a net of 3 members from your base. So that is what your membership was July 1st. So if you had 9 members on July 1st, you have to have at least 12 members to be distinguished, no matter what all you complete on the rest of this list. There's 10 distinguished goals. We're going to work from the bottom up. Administrative goal. It's getting your officer list on time. Patty's told me almost every club in the district got that. 2 didn't get it in on time.
Still got 2.
2 left.
That haven't turned them in.
Okay. So most of them got it in on time. So most of the clubs should have that. Have at least 8 members renew during the renewal period. That's 1 point. Training goal. 4 officers trained in the first half, which we're currently in. So if you're an officer, you go 10 officer training, you're going to get credit. You need 4 officers trained there and 4 in the second half. That's 1 point. 2 membership goals. Pretty simple. 4 new members, get you 1 point. 4 more new members, get you another point. There's your 2 points. 6 education goals. They're all in pathways. There's no legacy system anymore in getting any parts of it. 4 level 1s is the first one. 2 level 2s is 1. 2 more level 2s is another, so that's your 3. 2 level 3s is the 4th point. A level 4, a level 5, or a DTM is the 5th point. And then another level 4 level 5, or DTM is the 6 point. Something I want to point out real quick. You have to have 5 distinguished goals. If you get no education goals, the max you can get is 4. If you are not working in pathways, you cannot become distinguished. It is mathematically impossible. Yes, real
So
quick.
my question is this membership thing a change? Because there was a year when we had our net growth, but we didn't have 20.
So this,
And when we didn't have 20, we didn't get distinguished.
so it's all based off of your base membership. And as far back as I remember, and that's been about 7 years, that's how it's been. It's one or the other. Now, the 20, the reason why I didn't put it up here is because in order to be a club coach, the max amount of members you can have is 12. 12 plus 3 is 15. So,
Right, which is why I'm asking, because if you're
Now, it used to-
achievement oriented and you want to do it for the credit,
right.
it seems to me damn near impossible to achieve 20 plus 3 for a
It's,
club that has that number.
no,
And
it's
so if the rules have changed so that
so it
that
used
it's
to,
no longer that catch-22 where
So
we had to have the base of 20 and then more on top of that, that changes everything.
let me clarify this
To
real
make it much more
quick.
realistic.
Yeah, let me clarify it real quick. It used to be a net of 5 from your base, so what you were on July 1st. So if you were at 12, you had to be at 17 or 20, whichever one of, now it's a net. So now it's not 5 new members, it's a net of 5. So if you start at 12 and you get 5 new members, but you lose 3, you're at 14, that's not a net of 3, and so then you wouldn't meet it. So no, it's a net of 3. Real quick, a couple quick things I need to get done. Additional resources. Club retention chair is the one who's heading all of the club coaching. That's Andrew Welter. That's me. So if you are interested in being a club coach, or you're a club that's looking for a coach, contact me first. If you can't get a hold of me, go to your area director. If they don't respond, go to your division director. If they don't respond, go to the trio. Patty Howard is your club growth director. She will respond. You can go to any other district staff. So if you don't know who to start with, go with any of those. That is the club coaching program website on Toastmasters. And then those are the reports. And if you ever see those weird numbers and letters after a form on anything, that's the form name. If you type that into your search bar in Toastmasters, you will definitely get the correct form. So that's kind of the good way to always check you're getting the right form. I think we've covered a lot. If you still have questions, see me afterwards because we're running very tight on time. And again, I am your district retention chair for this year. If you're interested in being a club coach, or you're a club interested in getting a club coach, I have sign-up forms here that you can give me your information so I can contact you later. I also have handouts. One is for if you're a club looking to be a club coach. One is for somebody interested in being a club coach. And a lot of the information you saw today are on these handouts. Thank you very much for attending.